Hello, true duelists. My name's Craig Fee. She's gone, but you're here for the new card report. The Alliance Insight stream has come and gone for the TCG, revealing to everyone for the first time ever a number of cards in the set, and actually revealing to everyone for the first time ever the rarity of a number of those cards. Spoiler alert, if you wanted affordable Dragon Rulers like we got back in 2013, you can go fuck yourself. And that's directly from Konami. But if you wanted cheap Mitsurugi support, your wishes have come true. Nothing in the second wave of support is above a super rare, and now we get to find out if the second wave continues the proud TCG exclusive trend of being a disappointment following a promising start. And speaking of starting, let's start with this fart. Ha! It's funny because it rhymes. Mitsurugi no Mikoto Aramasa, or something like that, is a name that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's another level 4 Dark Reptile for the deck, this one with 1200 attack and 900 defense. That is the long anticipated and expected Stratos. On normal or special summon, or if it's tributed, you can add any Mitsurugi monster that isn't a copy of itself from the deck to the hand, and it has the same effect as the other level 4s, allowing you to tribute this card if other reptiles would be destroyed on your field. I think the only complaint you can have about this is the stat line and wanting it to be a little bit stronger, because allowing you to search off summon or when used as ritual fodder in a ritual deck is about as solid as it gets. This is all we needed from another level 4, and Konami at least didn't fuck it up. Truly a commendable feat. What they did fuck up was not keeping the trend of the reptile features on the little ones. That's just a man. An overly dramatic and impractical sword handle aside, that's just a normal ass dude you could see on the street and be like, wow, that's some crazy ass hair. But in what way is that a reptile? For shame, Konami, you broke the trend. Mitsurugi no Miko Wusu, or something like that, is the other non-ritual for the deck, a level 8 main deck Dark Reptile with 2000 attack and defense that can be special summoned from your hand by tributing a reptile monster in your hand and one monster your opponent controls for some very spicy kaiju-esque plays. The catch is, if you summon it like this, you're locked into only summoning reptiles and using the effects of reptile monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only summon it once per turn this way, so no multiple kaijus as well, because thank God. But if this is tributed, you can also discard a card to add it back to your hand to use the kaiju effect again on another turn. The lock is pretty reasonable, I'd say. But being for the rest of the turn lock also means that you can still abuse, other archetypes like Ryziel or whatever you choose before using this effect, although you can easily make the argument that you probably want to kaiju something before starting your plays, so I dig it. It's a reasonable, balanced card. Michael fucking Lykel. Keeping the deck reasonable is not bad, but it is a thin line to walk across, and I don't think they've crossed too far in either direction. The fact that it also goes back to your hand if tributed is nice, since you can loop those kaijus provided you have enough reptile fodder turn after turn, which this deck is more than consistent enough, I think, to do so. It's also pseudo-searchable, since you can use this as the tribute from deck with Mitsurugi Ritual, and then use its effect when tributed to get it back in hand, which is extra nice. It's 2 promising cards in a row, and I don't like that because I don't want false hope, I just want a good deck, goddammit. I guess I can also add that it might be teasing another ritual. I don't think so, I think it's actually the next one we're about to look at, but Copium, maybe it's a different one, and then someone comes in and tells me it's based on like the 3 gods from Japan, so what 4th could it be? I don't know, dude. I don't know, I'm just talking about nonsense. Kind of like I'm talking about Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi, a big-ass white snake just for something a little bit different. This is another level 8 Dark Reptile with 2400 attack, 1800 defense, and can of course be summoned with Mitsurugi Ritual. While on the field, it'll make all the opponent's monsters lose 800 attack, making it a pseudo 3200 beater. Nice. It can also be revealed in the hand to special summon a Mitsurugi monster from your deck, and then you'll have to tribute one monster you control. That effect is once per duel because balancing, and if it itself is tributed, it does the classic Mitsurugi Ritual thing of searching one of their monsters and then special summoning itself back out onto the field. Now, in case you're unaware, you can't use either of these effects to cheat out a ritual. Namely, you can't summon a ritual from the deck with its first effect, nor can you revive itself if you tribute it from the hand to summon a ritual monster, because either way it would have to be properly summoned to revive itself. The summon from the deck being once per duel is pretty yucky, but it's also an entirely free summon from the deck that at worst can be used to get you a search for any card or any card into the grave you want, and then you can summon the level 8 have to tribute it and get a kaiju to your hand first thing. Like, that is not a bad thing, even if that's like the worst thing that it's doing. Its on-field effects are whatever, but that's not why you're playing it. We're playing it because it's a dope-ass snake god thing that looks cool as hell and is actually also pretty good, so it's worth playing, but also really coolio and stuff, and that's why we're playing it. We've also received a new ritual spell, Mitsurugi Mirror, just to yoink that Gishki and Necroz theming for a little bit. This can be used to ritual summon any reptile ritual monster from your hand or graveyard by tributing reptiles from your hand or field whose levels equal or exceed the ritual monsters. And if at any point any of the ritual Mitsurugi monsters are tributed while this is in your grave, you can shuffle it back into the deck. It does mean you'll have to research it again if you want to get it again, so maybe you need to run more than one, whereas if it could just add itself back to hand, you could get away with running only one. But I guess we don't need to make this deck obscenely broken, so it's not really a complaint, it's just a nitpick. And I mean, it's not like it's going to be hard to search with all the different ways to summon from the deck, search from the deck, and get the things going. It seems like a pretty solid additional tech. And more than that, we can finally ritual summon from the 3 main zones. Mitsurugi Ritual already got you from the deck or hand, depending on where the ritual monster was. And now this gets from the grave, meaning we can play from all the areas Necroz has, which I think is the lowest minimum bar these days for being a playable ritual deck in some capacity. It's either that or doing something cheeky like Drytron does, circumventing rituals by using the attack stat. Either way, it's making for a pretty solid wave 2 at this point, which means Konami must really believe in the Year of the Snake, because there's no other way to describe this not being dog shit. I was so ready to hate this, and I'm actually enjoying it. Mitsurugi Magatama is a name I'm familiar with there, thanks to the spirit cards. It's a quick play spell that can only be used in the main phase to do one of 2 things. Tribute a reptile monster to pop an opponent's face-up card, or ritual summon a Mitsurugi monster from your hand by tributing monsters on your field whose levels equal or exceed the rituals. Now, it's spot removal. That doesn't require the tributed monster to be on the field to get that removal, if I'm not mistaken. And if you tribute one of the 4s, you'll also get their bonus little effects. That alone makes it a pretty solid card. The fact it can also be used to summon Murakumo on the opponent's turn for a bit of a board wipe as well is just amazing icing on the cake. Or have a Kiri to make their monsters lose 800 attack, right? Right? We'll be summoning that one a lot, won't we? Either way, it's just a very solid card to have access to, and more than anything, lets you play on the opponent's turn, which is what modern decks need to be at least competent. Now, if I only knew what it was. I can tell it's kind of like a necklace of some kind, but like, is it of a tooth? What is that from? We'll never know, but we'll see it in duels and someone will maul at it because this is Yu-Gi-Oh! And everyone hates every card on some level, apparently, and that's gonna be worth it for something. Mitsurugi Sacred Boundary is the last spell of the bunch, a continuous one that will make it so your opponent can't target Mitsurugi monsters with the effects of monsters summoned from the extra deck. Wow. It'll also let you target 4 Mitsurugi cards in your grave, except for another copy of itself, and shuffle them into the deck. And then if your opponent controls a monster, they'll have to tribute one of their choice. That's a once per turn effect, but man is it funny. The more I read it, the more I'm like, oh, this is the bad one, and it's not going to be all that good. It's definitely the worst, I think, even with the full context. But protection from the extra deck is like cute, and it's really funny to make them tribute their stuff. Like, yeah, we'd rather have protection from targeting from things like Valor or Imperm. Just being immune to Little Knight is a cute little attribute this deck can have now. But recycling cards and making the opponent clear out their board a bit for you is pretty solid removal. Gets around anything that can't be targeted or destroyed. The thing that sucks about it is, of course, the opponent will choose what they remove for you, meaning unless they have exactly one monster on the field, they're going to pick the one you don't want them to pick 99% of the time. But as a one-of, if nothing else, it can be used to help pick apart boards, and by recycling resources, you can keep your Mitsurugi resources going in an infinite loop for a grind game, which makes it a pretty solid card. It's also like the only card in these decks that's like a place. Like if you look at it, everything else has a picture of art or it's just a dude in some location type thing. And then we have this one, which is taking place in an actual like setting, and it's of a rock that's just been carved to look like a snake in the middle of a forest. it's kind of out of place in my mind, but it's not bad. Just like, oh, that one's different in a pretty noticeably unnoticeable way. You know what I mean? Sure hope so. Either way, let's move on to the trap. Mitsurugi Tempest is the last card in this second wave, a normal trap that will require you to have a Mitsurugi ritual spell in your grave to activate and will need you to tribute all 3 of the deck's ritual monsters. But for the effort, you will make the opponent banish 8 of their cards from the hand, extra deck, field, and or graveyard. Now again, the opponent is picking what's going on here. They're not going to shred apart their hand if you resolve this, and if they have a grave, they'll just get rid of anything like spent hand traps or used spell or traps. And if you even do get this to go off on the first turn, they're really just going to rip apart their extra deck, which isn't nothing. Losing 8 cards of my extra deck would piss me off, but it feels a little bit win more in the context of everything else Mitsurugi has going on for it. I don't know exactly if you need to have the 3 rituals on field to tribute them, or if you can cheat it out from the hand, but if that's the case, it's marginally better. But again, even if you get the Disney World land play of getting this card to go off right in their standby phase of their first turn, maybe 1 card's going to go from their hand, and then it's going to be 7 or 8 from their extra deck, and that's it, which is pretty detrimental. But people play extract to get rid of 6 and can still win duels. I don't know if losing 8's going to be the fine line in the sand that makes it unplayable. It is very much a dick move card, and if you can use this with something like transaction rollback, where needing to tribute the rituals is still considered part of the cost, then it's probably going to be an asshole tech in that deck as much as it is in this one. But other than that, it's some pretty cool art, which I guess is something. And who cares if the trap isn't the single greatest thing, or who cares if I've got it wrong and this is the greatest thing and I've just misjudged this card. The other cards we got are more than enough to make a competent second wave of support. Holy shit. All in all, that's an accomplishment long thought impossible. A good wave too? I've said it before in this video, but we all know it's the truth. Getting a good second wave of a TCG exclusive deck is something most people can only dream of. But more than that, this is an archetype that did something utterly phenomenal that we haven't addressed as of yet. They didn't shoehorn in a useless fucking fusion. How many TCG exclusive decks have been shot in the back of the fucking head because Konami decided out of the blue it's also super secret a fusion deck with a jank ass piece of shit fusion spell and an unworthy to be even acknowledged of the existence of fusion monster. I'm still pissed about B-Troopers Wave 2, dude. We just needed a halfway decent Link 3 and we got a fucking Towers that isn't even properly a Towers. Fuck you, Konami. You should have just done what you were fucking doing in the first place and given me Link monsters. B-Troopers aside, though, I can be maldy and baldy about those all day. This Mitsurugi support is pretty damn great. They didn't give it a useless fusion monster, and with all these things being super or common, it's a pretty affordable second wave to make you regret not having bought Mitsurugi Ritual when it was priced lower than it is now. I'm assuming it went back up, didn't look. I just have faith in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Stock market to have done that. This could well mean a mostly affordable meta contender, not a top deck, but certainly on par with the likes of Blue Eyes. You can tech in Fiendsmith engines, you can tech in the Ryziel engines still. That might still be the best deck for Mitsurugi, I'm not going to pretend to know. That's the one people are going to tell you to play if you play this pure at locals though. Everyone's going to be like, why aren't you playing Ryziel cards? It's like, I don't know, dude, because you've seen the fucking economy, that's why. Either way, all of them seem like valid options of deck choices to be playing, if nothing else. Very exciting to see that these cards have being released for the very first time to the public. No one had any idea what any of these cards were prior to this, and that's the truth, and anyone who tells me otherwise can meet me behind the shed for a very casual and relaxed conversation. But we finally have some cheap-ass support that doesn't rip apart my wallet like the Ruler support will, because I do want to play the Dragon deck, and unfortunately, they've got like 4 Ultras in a secret, and I'm gonna hate it. So that wraps it up for this new card report, just covering some of those lovely trading cards in this one. The update out on Friday, as always. Until then, I've been your host, Big Man Beg B, and that's what everyone calls me. Make sure you subscribe. Not only will you impress your smoking Italian wife, you'll become a true duelist. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get 4 videos in 1 week. Can we do it? Statistically, absolutely not. Let's see, though, in another video. Goodbye. I'm done now. Goodbye. I have cat hair on my nose. There you go. Cat hair on me nose. Me nose. I'm a fan of minnows. Mitsurugi